Hello and welcome to The Gallery, a Premier Arts Collective podcast. This is a space to highlight the work of Premier Arts Collective, share conversations with creatives, and explore how the arts become a vehicle of healing and hope. If you haven't already, be sure to follow us and subscribe wherever you find good podcasts. Now, without further ado, let's dive into today's conversation. All right, and we are back.
Yes, we are.
Hello, Mariah.
Hello, Logan.
We're here for part 2 of our 2025 reflection. We spent part 1 discussing the cruises, our tour with Ryan Ellis, Kaleidoscope, and all that went in it. So if you haven't listened to that episode yet, go back, listen to it, and it'll get you all caught up. A friendly reminder, if you're driving right now and you're listening to this, keep driving and listening. Don't change it. But if you are not driving and you're somewhere, this would be a great episode to watch on YouTube or Spotify. Does some wonderful, embed the video in there for you because we will be putting in some photos and videos to show you. Not only are we going to tell you about all the really cool things that we've had the joy and honor of getting to do at PAC, but we're going to try to show you as well. So
yes,
go check us out on YouTube. Lots
of great footage to see in all of these, both of these episodes. It's so much great things. We're peeling back the curtain to show you all the things.
Yeah, and we were talking even after recording part 1, just how fun it was for us to have a moment to really kind of think back and reflect on all the things that we've been able to do. And it's just really fun and reflective for us, to think about it.
We did so much this year. When you actually go through it, you were like, wow, we did all of that in 2025.
Yeah.
And we're still in 2025 and we still have plans.
That's right.
So we're still going.
That's right. So, part 1, we kind of called like the big rocks, the big events, the trips that we were taking as a team, or, the big events and fundraiser, with Kaleidoscope and all that went into it. For part 2, we want to look at kind of the heartbeat of what we do day in, day out with our programs and initiatives. So again, if you follow us on social, you're probably going to see a lot about what we do and where we're doing it and who we're doing it with. And this podcast is going to discuss all of that. So if it's your first time joining us ever, our mission is to use the arts as a vehicle of healing and hope. And we're a multifaceted organization. There's a number of ways in which we use the arts as a vehicle of healing and hope. But one of, if not the primary way in which we do that is through using the arts therapeutically, whether that be art and music therapy with a licensed therapist in a setting where they're leading, or using the arts in what I call a process-driven way, in a therapeutic way, where we're focusing on the process of creating and what that does to our minds, what that does to our heart and soul, how God meets us when we do create, and the end product is not necessarily the goal. If you were to go to an art event, maybe a sip and paint type of event, usually the artist is instructing the 8 or 12 people in the room to paint a sunset or a dog or a certain scene. We did one with our good friends at Wine and Design.
We sure did.
Christmas in July. And we all painted this beautiful Christmas tree and a boat, and some people did it better than others. Yours was great. Mine left some room for the imagination. Even that comparison that immediately comes into play. And we really want to try to get rid of that in the therapeutic setting. And so also 8 to 12 people sometimes smaller, rarely larger, but kind of in that pocket. And there will be a prompt where instead of the instructor or the therapist leading in a way that says, hey, here's how we're going to get to this destination. We're all going to paint this today. The prompt kind of pricks your heart to reflect, sometimes think, sometimes not to think, sometimes to kind of turn that logical side off and just scribble and draw. But what comes out on paper can look vastly different for each and every person in the room.
Yes.
And that's kind of where the beauty is. And there's often a time of sharing or reflection at the end, sometimes inwardly, other times, you'll have the opportunity to share about the heartbeat of your piece. And we've seen some wonderful, wonderful just outcomes from these groups with the different populations that we serve. And that's what we're going to dive into today. But first, at the beginning of this year in March, it was a really big undertaking.
Wait, are we sharing this right now?
Let's do it. Let's share it.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right, we're going there.
Let's share it.
So what did we do in March?
Fasten your seatbelt for a quick story, Mariah. I love telling a good story. So probably, 2 years ago now, we received an email, 2 or 3 years ago, which is crazy how time flies. We received an email from a now friend in South Africa. And Mariah, you know this better than anybody, especially at that time. We had put precisely $0 into SEO and any sort of getting our name out there on the web. So this person had found us because she had on her heart a burden for using the arts to tell people about Jesus. And she went to Google, the almighty Google, and Googled, Christian art therapy organization, and somehow we popped up.
And somehow that was before ChatGPT and searching and all of that. Good old Google.
Yeah, this is Google just placing Premier Arts Collective right in this person's lap. And so she reached out, and I received the email. And I mean, you know me, email is great. I love a good face-to-face as much as possible, or phone call. So scheduled a Zoom. And I remember, for the locals in Greenville, there's this really cool coffee shop in an old mill called Junto. Some might call it Junto Coffee. And I remember sitting there. It's really good. And I remember sitting there having this Zoom meeting with our friend in South Africa and talking about, what she wants to do and what's on her heart and what we could do to help in that. And at the time, our context was, okay, well, you should go the art therapy route, and maybe we can help you with some financial support. Maybe we don't really do that, but that was kind of the only thing that I could think of. Is like, okay, maybe we can help you financially. And she paused and just looked at me and was like, well, I'm not looking for financial support. I'm looking for relational support. And I was like, oh, okay. And that really just kind of stopped me in my tracks of like, okay, well, she's looking for something more than just, well, here's where you should go, figure this out. She's looking to us truly for relational support on her journey to use the arts to show people in where she was in South Africa, the love of Jesus. Because where she was at, she's a retired art teacher, and she was really kind of just fed up with the students that she was seeing or the people in her community either becoming victim to gang violence or becoming the problem of gang violence. And so we had a conversation about that. I was like, well, we can try to figure out something. We'll see what happens. We'll just keep walking and praying, and we know each other now, and great. And I came back to you and Jean, and we had a conversation, and it was like, man, what if we could give her something? What if we could make like a book of something? Or what if we took some of the prompts we had in the past and we could give it to her and she could use those? And that was a good start. But then the immediate question came up, was like, well, is she prepared? Is she equipped to be able to do those things? So that kind of warranted a second call, and you and Jean were on it. And I have a screenshot of all of us praying actually at the end of that meeting, which is really cool. And it was just kind of a spark. Nothing ever really happened. She actually went down her own journey and path with it, and has done some phenomenal work, and she's wonderful. But she was the spark for kind of this question of, man, what do we do if people want to use the arts in that way, and they're looking for support? How can we give that to them if they don't know where to start, or they can't, start without having some sort of kickstart. And
let's peel back the curtain a little bit and talk about the gap that we've often seen between, therapeutic or just arts, learning about the arts, and actual art therapy.
Yeah.
And there is a distinction there, and that's something that we've operated in.
Yeah.
And up until that point, there's policies and there's all kinds of different things in the U.S., state by state. Yeah. And there's just a whole world of limitations in a lot of ways, and for good reason.
Yeah.
But also when you're talking about people in different countries and unreached people groups and all of that kind of stuff, you see this gap and you're like, how can we be the bridge?
How can we be a bridge? Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, like you mentioned, it's kind of like being a doctor. There's exams and practices that you have to be a doctor, and you might know a lot. You might have studied a lot about being a doctor. You might have researched about being a doctor. You might have watched all seasons of Dr. House and Grey's Anatomy and all the others. And you can know a lot about a lot of things, but you can't call yourself a doctor because you're not a doctor. And so in the same way, you can know a lot about the arts, know a lot about psychology, know a lot about the brain, but you can't call yourself a therapist, because being a therapist is, there's boards that you report to, there's exams that you take, there's all these things that that meet the requirements to be a therapist.
Right.
And
for good reason.
For very, very good reason. Mm-hmm. I love art and music therapy, and none of that should change. And like you mentioned, just over time, the places we're going, the people that we're meeting, we did see a gap in, man, what if there's a way where we could use the arts and music in a way that is healing? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't, but then it asks that question, okay, kind of where's that line? Where's the balance between using it in a therapeutic way and then, maybe we're stepping into the bounds of doing therapy work and we're not equipped to do so, because that can really, really harm people. You can have really good intentions and go in and do some real damage because you don't really know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. I think I can build things, and if I have enough money and time, I can go to Home Depot and get all the things that a contractor would do, and I can try to start swinging a hammer and a nail, and it's not going to work. Not because I don't have the tools, because I don't have the expertise and the knowledge. Mm-hmm. And so that is really what we're trying to get at. That was the gap. Is there a way where we could bridge that gap while also calling it something that it is, not something that it isn't, and undermining or usurping the field of therapy, because we really value that. We've seen the power of art and music therapy all the way up until this point. But I mean, just quite frankly, there's not a lot of art and music therapists out there.
Right.
And so, there was a gap that we saw. And the question was, is there another way? Not, is there a better way? Is there another way? If there's a fork in the road, and there's a big gap, how can we get over that and build that bridge without causing harm and equipping people, and doing so by showing the love of Jesus everywhere we're going? Mm-hmm. And that led to a conversation with myself and you and Jean and the whole team, and Lisa Lonsbury got involved with an art therapist, and Allison, a music therapist, and we kind of got together and said, what if we created like a field notes, like boots on the ground type of training that equipped people on how to use the arts in a therapeutic way, that gives them a foundation of basic psychoeducation, that gives them a foundation of, here's kind of some things to look for and how to interact in different cultures and how to prepare, and everything from the high level stuff to the nitty gritty, like, hey, come equipped with an art bag, have a bag of everything, and where you place the materials and being consistent. High level, very nitty gritty practical stuff. Mm-hmm. And what if we were able to equip people with that, so that we can go and lead programs in places, so that when we go and when we're on these cruises, or when we're in different parts of the world, or in different parts of the state, or even just interacting with programs right here in Greenville, that somebody like me, I can lead a workshop with after-school children that maybe on the surface just seems like experimenting with new art mediums, right? Oh, well, you've never used air clay before? Great. I'll bring some air clay. We'll do it and we'll get that. I know a little bit about the behind the scenes of what's going on. Just kind of like music, right? When we get together, when we're playing music in a therapeutic setting and in a therapy setting, the goal is not, all right, Mariah, we're going to set the tempo to 120 beats per minute, and we're going to teach you on how to drum better. We want you to be a better drummer, how to keep in time. Here's some patterns we can do. That's not the goal. The goal is let's get you moving. Let's get you playing a drum with both hands, because when you drum with both of your hands, that's bilateral movement, and that's actually regulating your central nervous system. And I'm probably not going to tell you those things, but I know what's going on behind the scenes, so that when I see your countenance change and you come in and maybe you're a little stressed out, you're a little flustered, it's just been a Monday, and then 30 minutes in, we're drumming, we're listening to music. Oh, now I see your shoulders drop. And I see your face kind of soften. Because of this training, I now know a little bit of the why behind the what that's happening. Now, I'm not going to play therapist and dive into that and peel back that onion, but I do know that what is happening in that room with the music or in an art setting, we can do things that strengthen the other person, that allows them to have anything from as simple as just a better coping mechanism. Hey, run to art. That is a minimum to, hey, we actually believe that God can meet you where you're at when you're creating, and everything in between on that. And so through that conversation, Lisa Lonsbury and Allison Huey, an art and music therapist who have done all of it. They've done the training, they've done the schooling, they're board certified, they practice what they preach day in, day out. They actually wrote this curriculum.
Amazing.
So the curriculum for our therapeutic arts certification, has been written by and is informed by art and music therapists. And so it's worth its salt. It's worth its weight. It's not me cracking open a textbook and just highlighting the things that I find important and getting in front of a camera and saying, hey, well, did you know this? It truly is. We have veterans of the field saying, here's what I know, here's what's important, and here's practical things that I've learned along the way that I want to impart. And so...
and here is how you can responsibly engage with the arts and not play therapist. You're not trying to be a therapist, but you are cultivating a space where people can create. And we know inherently that they are going to experience the benefits of that.
Yeah.
And that's where that delineation is the goal is not the end product for art therapy or for the therapeutic arts or wellness arts workshops, but it is the process.
It's the process.
But the delineation is in art therapy, you're going to dive a lot deeper and you're going to go into, maybe the why behind you made these choices, or just opening up a much deeper conversation.
Yeah.
Whereas in our wellness workshops and our therapeutic workshops, it is a peaceful setting with the end goal of the process. However, we're not going to dive deep into, all of the why or what your situation is or anything. That's just not the space for that.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. And so we, at the beginning of this year in March, we filmed everything. And we are in the process of putting all the puzzle pieces together. This is going to be a rigorous thing. There's 8 total modules. There's an application process that we're going to take very seriously. There's quizzes and tests and written portions in between each module to show that you're not just flying through this, that you're actually learning and retaining what it is that you are being taught through these courses. And the heartbeat of this is for us. It is a certification. PAC is doing the certifying. And so I think the way that I would think about this is, let's say that you are the guest services volunteer coordinator at your church. And so in order to do that, hey, let's go through a volunteer training at this church. So you go through the training, and at the end, you can say, hey, I am now equipped, I'm certified in a way by this church to be the volunteer coordinator. And then let's just say 5 years later, you're crushing it. You're the best volunteer coordinator that this church has ever seen. But then 5 years later, you actually move across the country. So you start going to a new church. And you say, oh, at my past church, I was a volunteer coordinator, and I was the best volunteer coordinator in the world. More than likely, they're going to say, that's great, love that, and we want you to go through our volunteer training because they don't quite know what the other church trained, and I still want to believe the best about that church, but we want you to go through these steps so that we know that you are equipped to serve our people, and you've gone through our training.
And you're a part and know our culture.
Right.
And know what we are about, which is different from every organization and every church. And the culture building and knowing how we do things and the why behind the what is so important.
Right. 100%. And so in the same way as kind of that metaphor with the church volunteer guest services, in that same way, the certification lives within PAC. Mm-hmm. So when we say this is a certification, it's not necessarily a stamp that says now you can go do this anywhere. Mm-hmm. Again, going back to the church metaphor, saying you can do this here under the context of our umbrella, under the context of PAC. And so, I know certification has a number of different interpretations of what you can do with a certification. I know there are plenty of certifications out there that you can get that then allow you to say, now that I'm certified in this, therefore I can go do this kind of on my own, and I can make my own business out of it. And this is a means of building my own brand. And I'm getting my training here, but I'm going to do my branding here. The Therapeutic Arts Specialist certification is going to live within PAC so that you will be sent out, folks will be sent out under the umbrella of PAC. And when we send you out, we'll send you out with curriculum that is meant to match that program. That curriculum has been written and vetted by the therapists on our team. This is very much an in-house thing, but we're very, very excited about it because it'll allow us to just expand our reach of what we're able to do and where we're able to do it. And how we're able to do it.
Well, it's like what you were saying earlier is before we were limited because there are a limitation of art and music therapists available in the country of the U.S., let alone outside of the country. Now, we have met, some amazing people along the way, but to expand our missional reach, this has been pivotal for us to really be able to go into the places that an art therapist or a music therapist is not living there. Anywhere near there. But someone within an organization already serving those people, already knowing the felt needs of the community, can then integrate the arts into, the way that they're serving and helping people.
100%. 100%. Yeah, why? If somebody lives in Hawaii and they're serving an organization in Hawaii, we can send somebody there and do a week-long workshop or, maybe a residency for 3 or 4 months. But, there's going to come a time where the costs of that they get steep. Or you're asking that person, hey, have you ever thought about moving to Hawaii? Or you can train somebody that's already there. Exactly like you just said, we can equip them there. They know their people. And
they're still under the umbrella of Premier Arts Collective within their arts integrated program, because in consulting with the professionals and with our therapists, we see the importance of having that covering, over them and being able to be those people that they turn to when something does maybe come up.
Providing
they can go to our therapist.
100%. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Providing exactly what our friend in South Africa asked from the jump. I'm looking for relational support.
Right.
Somebody to walk alongside me when I have these questions. Something as simple as, should I play music with lyrics in it? Or should I play instrumental music? Which is a real scenario that happened last week. Having that person to ask the questions and say, well, in my experience, it's been this. And also, you're the person in the room. You know that people, that people group that you're working with. So here's what we generally do, and what you're doing might not be a bad thing because you know the people. It's that relational support along the way. And we're very, very, very excited about it. It's been a process and a journey to bring it to life. But we've had the opportunity to kind of beta test it in a way. We'll talk about that here in a little bit, but I've had the opportunity to lead some programs over the course of the years. And it's really neat and so helpful to know those things. Something as simple as a type of medium. You know, if you're using watercolor is really hard to control. And so watercolor sometimes can be really, really fun with kids because kids like to get messy and color outside the lines. And if there's ever something that will do that really easily, it's watercolor. And at the same time, if things feel out of control and everything in my life is chaos and school is crazy and my home life is crazy and nothing seems like it has any sort of order to it, that same watercolor tablet and that same water cup and the brush can cause chaos because they're going, my goodness, I just want to be able to control one thing. And they're going to get really upset and frustrated. And you go, I wonder why. But then you might hand them a Sharpie or a pencil or a marker or something where it's like, I'm fully in control. It's going to take a deep breath. And you exhale.
Right.
Because, oh my goodness, I don't know where anything else is going, but by goodness, I know where this is going. And knowing those things and how your brain is responding, and something as simple as using your non-dominant hand when you're drawing, all those little nooks and nuggets, they're in this training so that our folks can be equipped to lead well, and like you said, ultimately cultivate a space where God can come in and do the healing and get them one step closer to hope. The groups that I lead with the kids, it's a fun time. You know, it's just a fun time. Some of the adult groups, it might get a little heavier, but you know, knowing the difference, knowing where to go, how to lead, that's really the heartbeat of this so that we can reach more people. And then my dream, honestly, my hope would be that as people dive into this and they become certified through PAC in this, they realize, oh my goodness, I'm just scratching the surface. And they say, you know what would be awesome? Becoming an art and music therapist. And they go that route, right? Like I would love that. Yeah. This is not meant to usurp or undermine or shortcut anything. My hope is that this is kind of a gateway where instead of going from 0 to 100 on art therapy, maybe it's 0 to 25, and then you realize, oh my goodness, I want that. I want the rest of that because it's beautiful. It's amazing what happens in these rooms and settings.
It is, and I'm so proud of this course. Honestly, proud of all the work. Really, we started it in 2024.
Yeah,
about 6 months probably or more, maybe even 10 months of working on it. Many months, many hours.
Yeah.
Lots of thought, lots of meetings. And then we made it to 2025 and we filmed. For reference, we had 400 presentation slides.
Yeah.
More than 400
made.
So this is a beefy,
juicy
course.
Yes.
It's not child's play.
Right.
It's going to be a really great, enriching course.
So that is our teaser for the Therapeutic Arts certification course, Therapeutic Arts Specialist course. So just stay tuned. If there's something you're interested in, reach out to us and stay tuned for more things ahead. But for now, that's our teaser, and that's how we kicked off the year. Really, we did. I mean, and we got back from the cruise, and it was headlong into the course and the filming. And Lisa flew down from Minneapolis, and Allison came in, and we hit the ground running. And it was full good week. So
let's dive in to how we actually live out the practicals of this mission. We were able to have some new partnerships this year to further our missional reach. Tell us about those.
Yeah, so for the past couple of years, we've had the opportunity of, if you're local in Greenville, the Camperdown Plaza in downtown. It's right by Falls Park. It's right off the heart of Main Street, kind of near Art Crossing and where Falls Park is. We've had the honor of stewarding the art on the Art Walk which is an outdoor 8-piece walk around the plaza and the different restaurants that are there, and having art on display there, which are 8 pieces. We get the art photographed. It's screen printed onto brushed aluminum, so that way the elements aren't going to actually get to the physical art itself. And we've had pieces of art as large as the size of a postcard, literally blown up to scale, and it's really cool. And behind each of those, there are so many stories about the artist, about the piece of art itself, and that's been a joy. And we've also had the opportunity to steward the art inside of Falls Tower, which is a mixed-use building. There's a residential, there's some condos up on top, and there's a number of really key businesses to Greenville that work out of there. And that downstairs lobby has been made into a gallery. And so for the past couple of years, we've been responsible for curating art and putting it in there. It's been such a fun and joyous experience to do that. If people stop and take the time to read the placard on the wall and really stop and see the art that's on the art walk, they'll quickly realize there's something more behind the scenes, because we don't do art for art's sake, right? We're going to have some sort of story of how this piece or this artist is using art as a vehicle of healing and hope. And we've had some really cool galleries in there. And over that course of time, we became really good friends with our friends down the street at the Greenville Center for Creative Arts, GCCA. And in talking with them, like, man, would it be cool if we had a satellite gallery? That was something that they were looking to do. And we're like, well, we have this space, and they have a reach to a wide amount of artists all throughout, not only the upstate, but around the country. And what if in partnership, we were responsible for the art walk, but the inside, the gallery portion, what if that became a satellite gallery of GCCA? And so that partnership was born this summer, and the first installation went up as a PAC GCCA collaborative gallery. Some incredible art. If you're in the Greenville area, it might not be your first thought of a place to go view art is in the lobby of like a corporate residential building, but there's some incredible art. GCCA takes it very seriously, and it's going to look and feel like you're in GCCA, as if you're in their building. It's going to feel like their gallery. It's going to their artist statements are going to read like their artist statements. It's not muted in any way or form, and that's been a really cool partnership with them. And it was really awesome to be able to kickstart that this year, and we're about to actually turn the gallery here at the 1st of December, and then onward into 2026.
That's awesome. And folks can see that on our website at premierartscollective.com/artwalk.
Yeah.
Read a little bit about it.
Yeah, there's a story behind each and every piece. And, we have some featured artists and on there, and it's really, I just related, but as a kind of a tangent, I didn't grow up in the visual art world at all. Like, that was not my thing. And so I feel like I am getting familiar with it and learning not learning to love it, but learning how to love it. There's a way that you can, man, yeah, I like art, but then you kind of learn about it and you're like, oh man, I really love this. And I'm falling more and more in love with visual art because sitting with pieces, reading about the artist, learning about their heart, learning about the different, now that I know this about them, this makes this brushstroke or this scene, it makes much more sense. Why is this person, they're making a lot of art and it's very like, it looks like it's out west or is in Mexico. Oh, well, they're from Mexico. And this is kind of a callback to their heritage and their home for them. Oh, this brings a lot more sense rather than just, it's a whatever in the field. And just learning to love those things has been great. And so I encourage you, whether it's at the Art Walk or any of the wonderful galleries in Greenville or wherever you live, go sit with a piece of art and learn about the artist and just because it does something to you. And you know that more than anybody. You've taught me so much about that, but it does something to you. It's not just a space taker upper on your wall because you're like, we'll be really cool right here. Let's just throw a piece of art up. That art means something. It does something.
Yes, it spurs on the imagination. It helps lift your mood whether you realize it or not. It has a strong effect. Just viewing art. It's an amazing thing that God created for us to be able to create.
No doubt.
So let's talk more about our programs and how we cultivate spaces for creativity. So who are we working with? Who are we serving?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's a great question. What I usually say is we don't have a target population that we serve. We have a heart for people who have a heart for a specific population. That gets lived out typically through us partnering with another organization who is serving a population. So that could look like veterans. That can look like survivors of sexual and domestic abuse. It could look like those experiencing homelessness, those in active recovery, underserved youth. It's just a wide variety. If there's an organization that is serving a particular group of people that they have a heart for, we will partner with them and integrate the arts into their process, whether that be a healing journey, a curriculum, whether that be a support group, or just a freestanding art and music workshop that their folks can participate in. And so we've had the joy of being in partnership with organizations here in Greenville for a number of years. And it looks like recurring programs, workshops over the course of a year, several over the course of a year, or it looks like maybe once a year for an annual retreat or an annual workshop that we can get together. All of our programs are specifically curated to fit the felt needs of the populations that we're serving. So if you're to say, hey, Logan, what do your programs look like? It's going to kind of be like which program, because every program is built differently. The heartbeat is the same, but the outcome from that heartbeat looks different so that we can serve people best. So I can give a few examples of the programs that we do, if that's cool with you.
Let's do it.
We work with a phenomenal organization here in Greenville, South Carolina called the Julie Valentine Center. And the Julie Valentine Center, they provide support, and support is so... I need to emphasize that word support. I mean, they're there from beginning to end on the journey of for survivors of sexual and domestic abuse. And they provide free services to people in Greenville and Pickens County here in the upstate. And they're a wonderful organization. And so we have had freestanding art and music therapy workshops with them where any of their clients can sign up and participate. And that's always a joy because you're getting a mix of people in different stages of their own journey. We've seen how people can encourage other people because they've been where the other person in the room is at, and how art and music can bring that out. We've had art therapy and music therapy groups where it's been a 5 or 6 week group where you're doing art therapy over the course of those weeks, and you're on a journey that's more of a kind of a curriculum base where there's an overarching theme and you're taking them on a journey, and art therapy is the means of providing that that vehicle for the healing, like we've mentioned before. And I would say most often what happens is, which I love, is we integrate art and music therapy into the groups that they are already hosting. So they have particular populations. Even within the population of survivors of sexual and domestic abuse, you have a number of subpopulations, male support groups or adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse. And those groups will run for about 6 to 8 weeks. And we will integrate, and 1 week will be an art therapy group. Another week will be a music therapy group. And we will come alongside them in their mission. We're not teaching something where it's like, okay, we're going to take a pause from our regular programming and do art and music therapy today. It's a continuation because we want to see healing happen in those rooms, and our partnership looks like literally coming alongside the Julie Valentine Center in their mission as we serve our mission of using the arts as a vehicle of healing and hope. And we want to see people get one step closer to hope every time they interact with us. So that's an example of kind of, art music therapy integrating into what's being done. I've alluded to it a couple times already on the podcast of being able to lead some workshops with 2 phenomenal programs that primarily serve kids after school who are in need of some resources there. And Judson Community Partnership and Front Porch Housing are two phenomenal organizations here in the upstate. And in those groups, it's really fun because it's usually what somebody told me one time is the law of exposure. It's just bringing new experiences to the table that maybe they otherwise wouldn't get to do. When I was in elementary school, art class was, you got to stay inside the lines, do this, we're going to do this. It's a very technical way of doing things. And in our groups, it's let's do some air dry clay. Have you ever worked with air dry clay? Well, play with Play-Doh. Well, it's kind of like Play-Doh, but you can do this. And we're going to, I led a group last week where we took 2 pieces of clay and we made one into like an animal of your choosing. It could be a real animal or something in your mind. And then the second being, okay, now create like a place for it to live. And it's phenomenal how, when the kids got to share, like, well, this is what it is. This is like a soft, cozy bed for it to stay in. And there's little things like that. Oil pastels, I led a group with oil pastels and it was crazy because oil pastels are really, really good at making marks on your skin. It's not like a crayon. If you take a crayon and try to color your hand, it's not really going to work.
Yeah.
Marker maybe. Oil pastel. So, we're doing some things on the paper where then one person discovered I can
write on myself.
I can color my whole hand and then use that as a handprint.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, it was messy, but that's kind of the point in
Yeah.
those workshops sometimes and diving into, just using different things, trying different things, seeing what you love and letting that be just a safe place to create because that's so important.
I remember it is a joy. I've been able to have the joy to be at several of those workshops, and one Jared came led, and there again the kids loved the finger painting. Now some requested brushes too, which is interesting. We didn't dive into that, but so others were painting their whole hands and wanted to do their fingerprint or handprint on the canvas like Jared does. After they saw a video of him painting on TV, they all just freaked out like, are you famous?
Are you a celebrity?
Yeah, it was a blast to see these kids just be able to have fun.
Yeah.
They've experienced a lot of hard things in their childhood. So to have that time where they just get to have a safe place to have fun is actually very meaningful.
Yeah, we say it all the time. We're created to create. And so what a blessing it is to be able to create an environment where they can live into that purpose.
So true. Do you have any stories from a recent program, maybe Camp Carey's? Yeah,
that's a great one. Camp Carey's Kids is a weekend retreat that the Children's Hospital here in Greenville has for children with medical complexities and their families, their entire families. So this is parents, caregivers, siblings, everybody. And they do a wonderful, wonderful retreat every year at this beautiful camp. Everything at the camp is accessible, so the showers are easily accessible for the chairs or things that maybe they're not usually accustomed to because not everybody's thinking through those things. This camp it's special. It's really great. And so we started working with them back in 2022 and doing some workshops. And this year for the art workshop, they requested that all of the family members be together to create. So we've done workshops for just the mothers. We've done workshops where we've split the adults and the children and their siblings. This one said, hey, let's all create together. And so we're under this big awning outside. This is in this massive space,
like a pavilion.
Yeah, like a pavilion, like an outdoor, seating area. There's tables all throughout, and each family unit comes in and sits down together. And Jamila Gregory was with me for this, which was really special. She did a wonderful job, and the prompt again, because the outcome is going to be completely different, but the prompt is central, and the prompt was, we're going to create like a family crest, like a family shield. What makes your family strong? And that shield was made on a canvas. So it wasn't necessarily like a shield itself. So it can be used as a shield, I guess, if you grab the back of it and use it that way, but it's more metaphorical than it is, a legitimate shield for battle. Mm-hmm. And we had all different types of mediums, acrylic paint and markers and the little like puff balls that you can glue down and stickers that glittered and shined, just a wide swath of artistic mediums. And that was really it. My job was to come in there and create the space, give the prompt, and then kind of just like fire the starting gun and say, have at it. And all of the families just dove in. We had family members painting the feet of the children and putting it on the canvas, different symbols, people putting their names, people using magazines and cutting out things that represented their family. And it was this beautiful time to see the families, one, taking a second to pause. Because if you are a parent or a caregiver of somebody with a medical complexity, like some of these children have, it's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job. And for this weekend and specifically for this art-making time, what does make our family special? Well, you make our family special. We're special because of you and because of you. And here are these things that represent this person. So sometimes, the thing that might stress the caregiver out, oh my goodness, I have to do this, I'm responsible for this. When you have the time to kind of think and reflect, that might be the very thing that's actually what makes that person special, what makes their family special. And that was a really, really beautiful time. And then at the end, we allowed space for families to share about their shield. And this was also something to note is this was one of the first things these families did for the weekend. So they got there, they checked in, they dropped their stuff off, and like one of the first activities they're doing is this art making activity. So, you're close with your family unit, but I'm spending the weekend with all these families that you don't really know. And so these families are getting up and sharing, and we'll show some pictures in the video of some of the pieces of art, and here's this color might represent this, or we use this because it represents our strength together as a family. And it's really beautiful. And then another family would get up and they would share, and more often than not, there would be a callback to the previous family that had shared. So in sharing, when family 2 shares their shield, they're saying, and we, like family 1, we did this to highlight this in our family. Or we're like this, but we're a little bit different. So like family 1, we did this, but we added our own twist to it. And it was this beautiful kind of opportunity to see everybody highlighting how their family is strong individually. And also how there's a commonality in the room that is being brought out through art making that maybe would take some time to have that conversation. But in something as quick as a time of sharing your art piece, you're going, and just that feeling of, we're not alone in this. We're not alone. This person gets it. They know what it's like to do this. So they know what it's like at 2:30 in the morning when this is happening. I'm having to take care of this. So they know what when I say I'm having a bad day, nobody really knows what that means because, my bad day is going to be completely different. But this person, they get what my bad day might be like. And just how that workshop created that commonality that we weren't able to say for the whole weekend, but I know kind of set the tone for just the weekend ahead. And again, going back, that's our heart. Our mission is to align and further the mission of the group that we're partnering with. And so we're just trying to set the tone and you bring families together. We're always going to ask, what's the goal of this? And the goal was we want families to really reflect and think about how they're strong together, and we want other families to come together and kind of be healthier and stronger as they come together. And that was a beautiful kind of outcome of that weekend.
Yes, each member of each family, their connection grew.
Yeah.
But then they felt a connection with family to family connection. Yeah. And that just speaks of the power of the arts to connect us to each other, connect us to ourselves, even to remember what makes us special, what makes our family special. I just love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for asking.
There are so many different ways and opportunities that we have had to use the arts as a vehicle of healing and hope. And one of those is having a community art room in Greenville, South Carolina. Downtown, really, downtown Greenville. Tell our people about that.
Yeah. Man, the art room is one of my favorite spaces in Greenville. And I'm just in awe that we have the opportunity to be the stewards of that room. For a quick context, Triune Mercy Center is located right in the heart of Greenville, South Carolina, and has just been a beacon of hope for those experiencing homelessness for decades, not even just years, decades. And we had the opportunity to become stewards of their art room they've had for years in 2023, and that room has just blossomed into a beautiful community space. And so this year, Daphne became the art room coordinator of the room, and it's just continued to flourish. And so to give you, just kind of set up the space, anybody can come to this room. Anybody. My daughter has come to this room. Anybody from 3 to 93 can come to this room and create, regardless of status. There's no, there's no entry fee. There's no, I need to buy my supplies. This room is a place where people can come in, grab a wide variety of different art supplies, and come and create. And it serves primarily the parishioners that Triune is serving, but it's just this beautiful space where everybody from all different walks of life can come and make. And what often happens, if you have the opportunity to sit in the room for a while, what often happens is the art making becomes secondary, or the art making is the catalyst, might be a better way to put it, for community. And you know this, and I know this, just how quickly art making can just bring down some walls. And you're sitting there and you're making, and you hear some conversation, and you might decide to join in. You join in one time, and then, it's 11:55. Let's start wrapping it up because the room closes at noon. You going to be here next week? Yeah, I'll try to be here. All right, see you then. Right? And just, it's the space where now you have community, and we've seen how lives can be changed through something as simple, air quotes, simple as creating a space for people to come and just be and make freely without judgment. And some people want to use canvases and paint. Some people want to take thread and make bracelets. Some people, they're breaking out the sewing machine, and right. There's so many different ways you can create. And it's been really cool to just sit and see some people, it is their only safe space. And so they're coming and, you're like, I wonder why this person really isn't really engaged in conversation. Well, because this is their space where they're going to come and they're going to lock in. And it's not that they don't want community. This is their safe space. This is a place that is quiet. It might be one of the only times you're experiencing an HVAC unit. If it's hot outside, come get some cold air. If it's cold outside, there's heat. This is a place where you can just come and be. Triune does an incredible job of showing art all throughout the building. Their pastor will use art, for sermon illustrations. It's really just a really special place. And Daphne, the art room coordinator, she does an incredible job of just making it feel like home. And we have, the joy of doing that and seeing that through. And it's just a really, really special place. I don't know how to describe it. I think if you were to ask anybody, how would you describe the art room? They would probably say something like, it's like this, but you need to go experience it, because there's just there's a spirit of just community in that room that you can't quite describe using words, that you need to go see for yourself.
That's so true. Walking in there every time is such a treat.
Yeah.
Because you never know what somebody's going to be working on. A lot of times we do have a cartoonist in there that's doing different cartoons. But the other day I went in there and a friend was working in there. and he was looking at the Egyptian calligraphy and writing from a bookshelf that we have in there full of all kinds of different art books.
Yeah.
That is a free resource for them. And he opened that up and he was practicing learning new shapes from those the Egyptian words. And it's just so interesting to see people expanding their creative expertise, you know, and they're building their skills and just having fun too. And they're so proud to show their work. I know we're showing footage right now, and it's just amazing to see the smiles on their faces and how much joy that they have in that room.
Yeah. One of my favorite stories as you were talking that came to my mind, one of my favorite art pieces in that room is if you walk in, right now, you're going to see in the very back corner, you're going to see a house.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know this person. I don't know their story. But what I do know is that many people who enter that room have experienced homelessness or are currently unhoused.
Yeah.
And so over the course of months, I've just, come in and our offices are there. So there are times we'll be in the art room and it's not open. So, you just kind of come in and you see, oh, they've made some progress. And what started as a foundation has now turned into this incredible, 2-story house with a bed and a garden and a fence. And I just have to imagine, what if this person is unhoused? And when they come in, they're making home to them, even if they can't experience home when they leave.
Right.
And that's just such a powerful representation of the heart. And that's it's easily one of my favorite pieces. It's so unique.
It's amazing.
It's fun to see what this person uses to make things as well.
Yeah.
It's, it's not like just, it's all cardboard and this person just painted the cardboard. It's little beads that are this and pieces of fabric that make this. And there's representation even in the materials that are being used.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so fascinating. And I think that kind of captures the ethos in a way of what the art room is for many, many people as a place to create and feel safe as they make.
That makes me think of another organization that we have been able to work with, all about creating a safe haven for girls who have been, rescued from trafficking, who have experienced abuse, and have experienced complex trauma and are in need of a safe place. We were able to go to Hawaii and create a community mural.
Yeah.
You want to say more?
Well, you were there, so I would love to hear your perspective of what we were able to do last year that got the mural kind of started, as well as what you and Lisa were able to do, and then how the bow was put on it this year with Jared and Jean.
We were able to connect with Pearl Haven. That is the name of this organization. They're in Hawaii. And Lisa, the art therapist that's a part of PAC, and I had the privilege of going and creating an art week for the young ladies there at the organization. And so we did this project where they had little cardboard type poster board, actually, cutouts of a person raising their hands. And this is a very important form for Lisa in a workshop she really created years ago that has been so impactful. And one day I hope that she comes on here and is able to share more. But throughout the week, we first started with the girls writing down identity statements of who they used to think that they were, or who people used to tell them. Those things that they really didn't want to remember, but you have to process it at some point or another. And so they wrote that down, and then she gave them the opportunity to choose tissue paper that was all different colors. I mean, every color you could imagine, she brought that in there. And so they were picking their favorite colors. And this was a day-by-day process that was followed up by conversations. And so we would even talk about why they picked those colors and what those colors meant to them. And then they tore them up and they placed them on these forms. And we talked about colors that represented the hard things in life and colors that represented the good and wonderful things part of life, and how all of that texture from that tissue paper and the colors represented a story of our past, but they also covered the fake and the faux that we thought of ourselves and that people spoke over us. And it was this idea of, yeah, that's the past, but that is covered now by this color. And so you took Mod Podge glue and, created layer upon layer, and the young ladies got really creative with it. And it was amazing to see how the layers of paper would create new colors as they overlaid each other. And so then, we continued, and at the last day of the art week, we had 2 sheets of paper, one of scriptures and one of positive identity statements, like, I am strong, I am capable, I am loved by God, and then scriptures like, for God to love the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believes in him shall experience eternal life. And John 3:16, and all kinds of wonderful scriptures, fearfully and wonderfully. Yeah. All kinds of those scriptures that talk about the love of God and talk about how he has blessed us and created us and how much value we have in him. And all of those things. So they were free to pick whatever they wanted to put on their form. And it was just amazing how that in itself was a process of them embracing that new identity, that they are strong, that they are loved by God, that they are capable, that some of them were mothers, that they could be a good mom one day, and embracing that truth and overlaying that over the lies that they had previously believed. Said, nope, that's gone. You cannot see that. That is no more. It's been covered up, and now the truth is what is seen. And the story behind it's just amazing. And to see the girls throughout the week open up and really embrace the creativity and embrace the positive truth and identity for themselves was just amazing to see unfolding before our eyes. And then part of that too, Jared, a few weeks later, and Jean went out there and started a beautiful mural.
Yeah.
Can you tell the people more about that?
Yeah. So, this was last year, to put it into context. So this week happens in August of 24, and then Jared and Jean are able to go out there in September and start this mural. And it's in this community space where everybody is going to be, walking in that space probably daily. And it's this beautiful picture of this smiling girl's face. There's flowers in her hair, just the colors of like the sunset and the ocean, and it's this beautiful mural. And murals are wonderful in and of themselves, right? I mean, they just bring light and joy to a room. But what was really special is the same girls that you and Lisa had just worked with a month prior, they're now co-laboring with Jared in bringing this mural to life. And they're getting to choose where they want to put the paint and adding their brushstroke to this mural. And just quite simply for the sake of time that they were able to be out there, phase 1 happened in September of 24, and then Jean and Jared went back out there this year and finished the mural. And the same girls got to come back up, and they got to paint again and help Jared and just bring this mural to life. And the power, the symbolism in those things of adding your mark on a mural in a place that is been a source of your healing and recovery, is so, so powerful. And the mural is beautiful, but the symbolism and the things that, unless somebody tells you, oh, this was her spot, this was where she painted this, and this is where I left my mark. And I just have to imagine, 10, 15 years later, some of the same ladies coming back and being like, oh, I remember that, like, that was my spot. That was where I left my mark on this beautiful tapestry on the wall. And it's a really, really, really beautiful mural, and an even more beautiful representation of just the work that organization is doing, and what a joy it was to be able to come alongside them in their mission and integrate the arts into it.
They're amazing. It's a beautiful place in a beautiful place.
Yeah,
for sure.
Very much so.
So we've been able to have the opportunity to launch multiple programs this year.
Yeah.
Tell us about a couple of those.
Yeah. The Dream Center here in Easley, South Carolina, and Metro Hope in Minneapolis. Two absolutely incredible organizations, and just the fruit from the programs have been honestly a bit overwhelming. Just the fruit of what's come from it. So the Dream Center is an incredible organization here in Easley, South Carolina, in the upstate, and they have a residential program for women and children. Phenomenal Christ-centered organization. They do amazing work even beyond that. And we had the joy of providing a therapeutic arts program that integrated directly into their core curriculum for these ladies. And we did 10 workshops in the spring. We had the opportunity to do 10 plus a few extra in the fall that we integrated into their orientation, as well as a kind of a concluding program, some phenomenal stuff. And the program in and of itself was incredible. I mean, just the responses, we were able to really just use the arts to highlight scripture, like the truths that you were saying at Pearl Haven about who God says we are in light of maybe what we think we are or what we've been told that we are and really embraced. And to see how the arts can really just kind of, again, break down those walls quickly, and you see, who God is and who you are as his child. It was really, really beautiful to be able to hear and see those testimonies. I think one of my favorite things that we saw really early on in the spring program specifically was how the ladies formed strong relationships with their resident success managers. So in this setting, there's a number of ladies, and the Dream Center staff, they have resident success managers that are more than just your typical caseworker. These are people who are, it's in the name, responsible for your success. Everything from, helping with appointments to transportation to being a mentor to being a shoulder to lean on. And so in these settings, we were leading workshops not just with the residents, but with the residents and the resident success managers. And so, oftentimes there can be that kind of dynamic of somebody, if you're, over somebody, or, you're managing somebody, if you're a resident success manager, maybe that person has it all together and that's why they're in that spot, and they have to manage somebody like me who doesn't have it all together, or they don't really know what I'm going through, and it's kind of hard to form those bonds and relationships. Well, here, everybody's creating together. And so they're walking through these programs, these workshops together, and they're sharing at the end and being pretty vulnerable. And the resident success managers are participating in that as well. And so these ladies are seeing, oh, wow, well, this person that I thought couldn't get what I was going through, maybe they can. And one of the biggest takeaways that we heard from the Dream Center was these programs really opened up doors for the ladies to bond with and lean on their resident success managers. And you alluded to this earlier when we were talking about, just what all happens in these programs. Sometimes we're just the spark. And a lot of times what happened is after these workshops, if they were off-site, away from the Dream Center, then they have a car ride back with their RSMs. And as soon as they get back, they're starting a conversation being like, hey, I noticed this. Or the RSM can look at the resident and say, oh, I noticed you used this and you really opened up. I'm really proud of you. Tell me more about that. And we had the opportunity to do some programs at the Dream Center as well. And what would happen is the program would conclude, and then everybody would just kind of migrate to the RSM's office because there was more to be talked about. And we were just setting the table. We were just cultivating that space for not only for God to meet them where they're at as they're creating, but also post-workshop for them to really kind of bond with and lean on their RSMs and share those really heavy things. That's what they're there for. They're there to shoulder that burden with them. And a lot of times the arts, those therapeutic arts programs would break down those barriers, not only between self, but also between individuals in the room. The ladies would rally around each other too. Again, that kind of like commonality that we talked about with Camp Gary's kids of, I'm with these people. I'm living in the same space. I'm doing all the things together with these ladies, and man, we're in this together. We're not alone in this. We can lean on each other, and that's been a beautiful, beautiful thing that's come out of the Dream Center. And I'm really, really excited to continue that program in the years to come.
That's so amazing to hear. And a couple of the women, one of the RSMs and one of the residents from the Dream Center program in the spring accepted our invitation to document their stories. And so we were able to capture that, and they were amazing in sharing. I mean, there came a point where we were all in tears behind the camera. We were just wiping our tears because of just being able to see the effect in that program. And that we were taking them to a coffee shop most days to just create, and all of the fruit that came from that was just amazing.
Yeah, that, the purpose of this podcast in this kind of reflection is to kind of give the overview of some things and also kind of those nuggets underneath the surface. And that day of filming was probably one of my favorite days of the year. Just to sit and to hear all that God has done through that workshop, through us, and to see how he was working and moving, and the testimonies of everybody in the room, everybody that was a part. A perspective from the RSM, a perspective from the resident. We even got to hear from the person leading the program. You can check that out on our website as well. Like, it was just so cool to see, wow, like, this works. Some of these programs that happen maybe across the country, or maybe they're in an environment where it wouldn't be appropriate for us to go. There's a number of programs that I can't go to because it's just not appropriate. For whether it's HIPAA or just the circumstances of the population. And so to be able to see firsthand and hear firsthand these stories, and to be able to capture them on video and be able to share those with people, what a joy that was. And that was such a fun day.
And those are on our YouTube account.
Yeah.
So check them out. We're going to add the tags here. And so another thing that happened this fall is you not only went on the road with Ryan Ellis for a tour, but you went to Minnesota because we launched a new program out there this fall.
Yeah, so often Lisa's making the trip down to South Carolina, and every now and then we have the joy of I get to go up to Minneapolis, and the story of how we even partnered with Lisa in the first place is absolutely incredible, and she's wonderful. And so her organization, Art Lab RX, we partnered. This was fun because we kind of partnered in an inverse way, a little bit behind the scenes. Usually it looks like PAC partnering with an organization and then bringing whoever's going to be leading that program kind of in and bring that to life. This was kind of the other way around because I don't know much about Minneapolis, Minnesota. And so this was us partnering with Lisa and Art Lab and her incredible staff, and her identifying a program that meant a lot to her. And that organization was Metro Hope, an organization that has been a staple in Minneapolis for almost 100 years.
Wow.
They've been around for, I think this is their 99th year, and they're approaching 100. And they are a residential recovery program for men and women in two separate locations, women and children, and then their men's center is about 10 minutes away. And so we launched an art therapy program with their folks. And to kind of give a behind the scenes, shame is a really, really big thing that comes with addiction. And on your road to recovery, even if you're clean, you're sober, you still feel the weight and the shame of that past, even if in Christ our shame is gone. And Metro Hope really leans into that. And they have a shame course that talks about who we are in Christ and that we're no longer bound by our shame. And when we were having a conversation about, where could we do an art therapy workshop and where would it make an impact and apply, this shame course was kind of the clear answer. And so at the conclusion of the workshop, Lisa created this wonderful mask-making art therapy workshop for the ladies to participate in that really highlights their past self and maybe who they thought they were, who they were told they were, what shame felt like, and some of the things that were a part of that in their addiction. And that was on the inside of the mask. And then on the outside of the mask, it was, it's meant to symbolize, okay, who we are now in Christ. We're free from our shame. Who does God say that we are? And so inside, use art materials to depict kind of the weight of that shame. The outside, who we are now in Christ and free of our shame. And I had the opportunity to go up at the beginning of November and see this workshop in action. And I had the joy of hearing about some of the programs that already happened, that kicked off in the summer. But it's just special when you get to see it in action. And so, I went to Metro Hope. The program was with the ladies. And
what did you guys do there?
My goodness, to sit and be in that room. We went to Metro Hope. We brought these masks, just these simple masks that you can, buy off Amazon. Just anybody can get them. And Lisa, set the table of the art materials, talked about the prompt, set some ground rules for the day. She turned on some light music, and it's always so fascinating how the unspoken liturgy of these programs take place. So it usually starts, and people are like, you're drawn towards a specific thing, whether it be a paint marker or a certain bead or whatever it may be that you're drawn to. A feather. Yeah, you're drawn to these things. And then, the first 15, 20 minutes, it's usually people are still in conversation and I'm doing this and, hey, were you here last week for, what about this? Or I need to catch up on this. Or you're just making small talk about their lives or programs or whatever. And then usually at the 15, 20-minute mark, it suddenly gets silent. And people are just in that flow. Mm-hmm. And Lisa even looked over to me and she's like, shh. They're in their flow. So let's just let this be. Mm. And everybody is just locked in to making this mask. And that lasted for about 45 minutes. Lisa does such an incredible job of checking in with everybody individually, maybe noticing something that she sees. Maybe she asks more about it or she just kind of lets it be. And, it was really neat. Most people use the mediums that were given. There was one participant who, again, this is a residential program, so they live at the same location that we were doing this workshop at. She actually left the room, and she came back with a couple magazine clippings and cut some specific phrases out and put them in the eye holes. And so on the inside, it was these things like formerly what she was seeing. On the outside, it's what she's seeing now. And some of the words there, just, restoration and made whole and things like that. It's beautiful.
And so on the inside of the mask, they wrote out words. Right?
Some did. Yeah. Some wrote out words, shame, guilt, addiction, some really heavy things, rape, abuse, guilt, sadness, all these things that are coming in there. One of the masks that really caught my attention used less words. She painted the entire inside of the mask gray. She took some wire and jumbled it all together and kind of put that where the brain would be, right? So her brain's kind of a mess. Lisa had screws, like little, like small Phillips head screws. She glued those on the inside and put them right where her forehead, like where your temples would be.
Wow.
And just about the sharp pain. She colored the lips red, and just talking about how the things that he would speak, things he would say, and it was kind of like a messy, it was like a lipstick. It was like a messy, just the things I would say and believe about myself. It just incredible. Spelled out the word hate in blocks and put those in, like, did a wire across. The inside of the mask was just really, like, it just kind of took you back of like, wow, I don't know what that feels like for you, but I can see, right? Screws and your brain's a mess and all these things. So that was on the inside. Some people, they're writing words. Other people would paint it and get really in depth. The other side of these masks, the outside of these masks, of this is who I am now and rid of shame. Feathers, flowers, bright colors, beautiful designs, just a stark contrast. And to be able to see these come to life. And then at the end, everybody set their mask on the table. We all gathered around and did a gallery walk. So we all walked around the table and saw everybody's mask. So everybody has the opportunity to be seen. And the person got to choose whether they wanted to show the inside or the outside of their mask. Some people were cool with, letting you touch it and flip it over and seeing. And it's just astounding how we haven't even shared yet. Nothing was said, right? Nothing was said about the mask, but you knew, right? You knew, you could see what was being said, and just the power of, talking about art is language for the soul. And we previously were really big on art speaks when words fail. Like, this was kind of the epitome of that, of like, wow, I can see the heart of this person and they haven't said a single word yet.
Yeah.
And then, then we sat down, we're all gathered around the table, and people got to share about their mask, the inside of the mask, the outside of the mask, and share some key words about what this workshop, how it made you feel. Some people said happy, comforted, creative. Other people said unfinished, right? Because they literally didn't get to finish their mask. Because some people, the details are incredible. And so there's only so much you can do in an hour. They have art supplies there, so we want to continue, working even after we left. But unfinished, maybe it was because they didn't finish the mask. Others said, unfinished, work in progress, because they're speaking about themselves. This is a journey. This is a process. And I'm not finished yet, but I kind of know what the end result is going to look like. But I'm not there yet. And just the power that comes from that, and being in the room and seeing those things. Now they have these masks with them. So if they're, this is kind of a beacon for, or this is kind of a representation of the class as a whole, as well as just the recovery journey in of itself. Some people there was one person in the room who had graduated, and she's actually helping out. So she's on the other side, and the elements about her mask and how she can speak in other people. Some people, Cammie mentioned that they might take the shame course 2 or 3 times. And so maybe they'll do the class again, and they'll have this with them, and they know it. And it's just this physical token, and it was really fascinating. After that, Cammie was kind enough to drive me over to the men's center. And while we weren't able to do a program with them, they have had programs there before with the mask making, same thing.
And Cammie is one of the directors.
Cammie is the director of Metro Hope. Yes, thank you for clarifying that. She is a wonderful, wonderful person and has a heart of gold. And so she drove me over to the men's center, and some of the men came out, and we'd talk and introduce, and Cammie was like, do you remember that mask making workshop we did? Well, this is Logan from PAC, and he worked with Lisa, and this is how it all came to life. And I'm like, oh yeah, it was cool. I enjoyed the mask making workshop. One gentleman, I stepped away. She's giving me a tour of the facility. We come back, and he comes and he runs out, and he has his mask.
Oh, wow.
And he shows it to me. He's like, this is what this means. And he's like, I keep it with me all the time. Like, this is kind of just this symbol of the journey of recovery and shame being gone and freedom found in the Lord. And just really, really special. And again, something that just baffles me is the masks. I think you can buy like 500 of them in bulk off Amazon, right? For $10, $20. acrylic paint markers, beads, feathers. You can get all these things at Hobby Lobby. There's nothing magical in the materials, right? But it's applying those materials to something as heavy as, what does it feel like to feel the weight and burden of shame? And then what's it like to be free of that burden? And showing those things. It's so simple, yet it's so beautiful, and it means so much. It was such an honor to be able to see that program in action and know that that work and that healing is happening in Minneapolis and here in Greenville and all around the world.
That's so awesome. I feel like as you were talking about that, those masks became like monuments in their life. Like an Ebenezer, of the stones of remembrance of even through life when shame tries to creep back up. Because we know as humans, that's part of the experience. And they can look back and remember, no, I am the outside. I am not the inside anymore.
Yeah.
That's over. It is the beauty. It is the love. It is the joy of freedom now. And they can remember that and claim that and embrace that and walk in it. And I think that's what this whole part 1 and part 2 has been for us.
Yeah.
It's been the stones of remembrance. It's been monumental times in 2025 of our missional reach and impact. And I've so enjoyed reflecting with you. And I want to emphasize to our listeners right now how we can't do this alone.
No.
All of these stories, all of these amazing transformational moments cannot happen without our donors.
Yeah. We've spent a lot of time talking about the people that made the workshops possible by being in the room, right? The Lisas, the Jamilas, the Allisons. We talked a lot about that. Ryan, Jared, all these people that make these things possible in the room. To your point, those things aren't happening if we don't have the financial resources to do those things. And so just as much as they make it possible, our donors make it possible. They're just as much the hands and feet that are putting these programs on, that are allowing these murals to be painted. They're just as much the hands and feet as the people with the paintbrush in their hand.
Putting the paintbrush in their hand, putting the art on the table, they are part of doing that.
Yeah.
They are part of placing and cultivating that space, both practically with the tactile methods, to be able to see people and help people take that one step closer to hope. That is the importance of our donors and their help on this mission.
Yeah, very well said. So, we'll make the ask. We would love for you to partner with us. If you're listening to this podcast, if you're watching this episode, if you feel led, please, we would be honored to partner with you in bringing these programs to life. And you can give. You can be a part of our mission of using the arts as a vehicle of healing and hope by visiting premierartscollective.com/give. You can give a one-time gift, or you can be a monthly donor, a member of the Curated, our monthly giving program. And for the cost of maybe a latte, you're bringing healing and hope to people in these rooms. And it's a time of reflection and looking back, but also looking forward and saying, wow, there's still so much work to be done.
Yeah.
There's so much hope and healing that can be brought to populations that we're already working with and the people that God is going to place in our path that we haven't met yet. And those conversations are able to happen. We know we're able to step forward in confidence in bringing those programs to life if we have the funds and the resources to do it. And so, for as much as we talk about partnerships with other organizations and partnerships with other artists and therapists and people who are bringing these programs and to life by facilitating them, we're also speaking to our partners who are our donors. And if you give to us currently, thank you. We hope that this reflection was just as fun for you as it was for us to look back and be proud of the things that you helped bring to life, these programs that we're even able to talk about these things because you have given and been a part of our mission. And if you feel prompted and led to give and be a part, then we will be doing another reflection podcast, Lord willing, at the end of 2026. And you can know and have confidence that those reflections that will happen next year, they're happening because you gave and you were a part. So we thank you in advance for your generosity and for making these things happen and furthering our mission of using the arts as a vehicle of healing and hope.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you, Logan, for taking this time with me and reflecting on 2025. We're not slowing down, are we?
No, we're not slowing down. We're going to turn off the camera and the lights and pack this thing up, and we're going to gear up for 2026. We got much ahead and a lot of exciting plans and future cruises to go on and mission excursions to lead and programs here in Greenville and Minneapolis and, Lord willing, around the world. And we're so honored to I personally am just amazed that this is what I get to do, what we get to do, of just being the hands and feet of Jesus by using the arts as a vehicle of healing and hope. And I as much as we talked about it, this is going to be part 1 and part 2 are both going to be lengthier podcasts than usual. It still feels insufficient. It still feels insufficient of describing what is happening in these rooms, what's happening in the hearts of people who are participating. And so, just know that you're whoever is a part of this, whether it be financial or leading the programs, there are so many things that we have the blessing to see, and there are so many things that we probably won't see this side of eternity, but knowing that we're doing our best to till the soul, to plant, knowing that only God can water. That's our job, is to cultivate these spaces and be creative in doing so and letting God do the healing. So it's an honor to be a part of this journey with you, Jean, Rebecca, all who are involved at PAC and beyond, and onward to 2026.
Onward and upward.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of The Gallery. If you found this episode inspiring, encouraging, or hope-filled in any way, be sure to subscribe wherever you find good podcasts, so that way you can be notified when the next episode releases. If you're so inclined, we would love for you to leave us a review or a comment, as that will help expand the reach of this podcast. To learn more about our work as Premier Arts Collective, visit our website at premierartscollective.com and follow us on social media at Premier Arts Collective. Thank you so much.